Hey, how's it going? I haven't been on for quite a while. Just wanted to check in. It's March 31st, 2023, and it's April tomorrow, and it's crazy because this this winter's been feeling really long. We've had tons of snow. Um, I've been thinking about a lot of different stuff, and I don't know that I'll get to too much of it tonight, but I did just want to keep myself on at least doing this stream tonight. I pushed it back. Um, but I'm feeling pretty good. I've been working a lot, uh, despite the snow. It's cut my hours a little bit, but I've been able to pick up some extra shifts when people call out, and yeah, I'm doing well. Um, we've had some little challenges, but nothing too bad, and I just keep trying to make sure that I'm grateful. And hi, CJ. Good to hear from you. Um, we're gonna have a chat soon, whenever you want to, really. Um, but yeah, I've just been thinking about like striking that balance for me where I'm informed, but I'm not getting caught up in um, all the anxiety inducing, uh, you know, trying to limit um, like just my media intake and try and just not, get into all the drama. But, humans, that's what we do. We do drama. And it just seems to me like when we don't have healthy outlets, then things really go into like really bad directions. And so, I don't know, everybody has their different opinions about, proper behavior. Um, but it seems like a lot of things are just spiraling. So yeah, I'm doing my best to just like be friendly out at the stores that I go to, or you know, if something's not going my way, like being patient enough to get the right answer. Like we had a new water heater installed, and the day it was installed, I noticed like a very small drip. And when I called the office to get somebody to come out and look at it, she's like, "Oh, well, it's condensation. It's normal." And I'm like, "No, it's a drip. I'm going to have to insist that you come out, please." And I was like, "I don't mean to sound rude, but yeah, I know it's not condensation." And so that was pretty funny because like, yeah, the workers did a pretty good job. They were really fast. And so um maybe they were a little bit too fast. And I don't blame them. Like I'm the same way with my job. And I always call it like being willing to be kept honest. Um because I, like all of us, have had problems with like being corrected. And so I'm trying to be more accepting of like the useful criticism, but assert myself, when necessary. Um and still treat people with dignity, even if I might have to say, "Hey, no, no." Um but yeah, it's interesting dealing with customers, and it's why I called my stream um working for the Atta Boy, because for the last 2 weeks, um, one of the apps that my company uses to get feedback from the customers, and they give us tips that way if they want to, and give us a rating. And it's funny how addicted I got to that, um, that little notification that somebody had given me a tip and given me a good reading. And it's funny, yeah, because the thing broke, like, I haven't gotten any tips on it for 2 weeks. And, of course, my mind is spinning because I'm thinking it has something to do with the Silicon Valley Bank crash, and I'm thinking, "Oh my gosh, what if the customers did try and send us the money and the company's just keeping it?" I think that would be a lot worse, because our customers are getting cheated, um, as well. I would much rather the problem be that no one was ever able to submit tips, or give us a rating. But yeah, I'd hate to think that they could be keeping our money. Like, I don't want to be that cynical. Um, but I think it was just an interesting uh thing I was tossing around in my mind this week was like how much I needed that little bit of reassurance, I guess, of like being told that you've done a good job. Um and I think that's what makes, humans just like other animals, you know, we can be tamed. Um, and certainly like different species, like they're gonna have like different behaviors and you know, um, just across the species, they're gonna have more predominant traits. So, yeah, I've been thinking a lot about this just as it plays into like how we prepare ourselves for the future because I admit there's a lot of things that I haven't known about that I'm just kind of coming to grips with. But I've always kind of been cynical. I've been sweet and naive and kind, but I've also been, kind of like, no, you're lying. Like, I was calling boys in kindergarten, liars for telling stories. And I would play make believe when I was a kid, but by the time like, I was in kindergarten, I was reading, at a pretty early age, and I think that I had just as often little girls are slightly ahead of younger boys in maturity, um, in their adolescence, but it's also just boys having maybe a predisposition to, um, uh, play and make believe. But I remember this one kid would call me in kindergarten and tell me that he was calling from space, from his spaceship, and I remember that making me so mad, like, being really frustrated and being like, "No, you're lying." So, that's just kind of a funny little story because, yeah, suddenly I've been getting these random thoughts and even remembering my dreams, which that in itself is interesting to me because I don't often remember my dreams. Um, but when I do, they do tend to be vivid and even if they're short snippets, they're quite impactful and I will recall them. So, anyway, yeah, this is a little bit rambly, but there was just so much uh kind of terrible news on top of terrible news. And, it's crazy. Like, um, I'm I'm sort of trying to continue this video journal as like a marker for what was happening. And yet I could make a video every single day and not really encompass it all. So, I thought, well, I'll just see what I might end up talking about today. The one thing was my need for like that. reassurance, I guess, from getting those tips coming through. I mean, the money literally does help, but it is just as much that gratification. And so I've been yeah, that's crazy. CJ says he's watching from outer space. Yeah. Well, I guess I would the only reason I wish I were male is because I wish I could go to space. And I was always jealous of like the astronauts. I lived in Orlando and thought I wanted to go to space camp and stuff, but I kind of hated math and physics. Um, so that probably wasn't in the cards for me, but you know, it's just funny. I've been trying to track like all the different points of view to understand like people's sort of political code switching and lingo and um just kind of how the tribalism works, and then there's the politicians and the people that are trying to take advantage of all those things for the sake of their own interests. And I think a lot of negative impacts to society are made just by greedy individuals, you know, but they will tend to flock together. And then, those trends of just like a reward for being dishonest. Because people are always going to figure out what works, and they're always going to try and find the shortcut. And so, I've been trying to find that place where I'm actually rewarded for doing the best job I can it with the pride of a job well done being its own reward. Because then I can do anything that I'm physically capable of and, find some meaning in it for that moment. So, like I don't mind menial tasks. Um and I do want to get better because I feel that, yeah, one of the biggest problems just we don't even have to talk about people trying to control us um, psychologically, through marketing and stuff like that. But they do sort of go hand in hand because, we were sold and marketed all of these objects of convenience, and I can't help but wonder like how the sort of survivalist prepping industry gets to benefit off of fear, you know? Um, and yet I do think it's important that you know, we have things stocked up. Um, I do think it's important that we're prepared, but I think a lot of that is just kind of creating another market for this greater machine. Excuse me. But, in my mind, the real prepper is one that's mentally prepared to do, more with less, and have the willingness and um, I guess like fortitude to learn new skills and to practice new skills. And some people are more mechanically inclined or whatever their skill sets may be. There are some amazing people that learn everything, but it's not that hard to learn just a little bit about many things and to prepare yourself for, facing a challenge. And I've done that with some tiny little plumbing projects at home and little home, tiny handy person projects. Um, because my husband has no interest in it. He never notices any of that crap. and I'm fine. Like, he'll help me if I need it. He did notice the gas leak smell that we had coming from our water heater, so that's why we got a new water heater. So he's attentive to the things that matter, and he does take good care of our kids. So anyway, um but yeah, it was like real dramatic having to call the gas company at, you know, on a Saturday night. Um, but luckily it turned out it was not too bad, and it was something we could get fixed. Hi, Alice. Oh my gosh, what an honor to have you here. Really? Yeah, so I've been thinking a lot about that, the mental preparedness, because, you know, I'm glad you're here, Alice, because you can understand, as anybody can, the internet drama stuff, the divisions that happen um between people, like, across political points of view. And that last Seb's stream, um that person, I guess they were messaging Sebs on a Discord, and they were so cunty. I mean, it was unbelievable. And so it's like I had a conversation today at a drive-through coffee place. Because I basically hit up every coffee shop I can find in town when I'm on my different routes in neighborhoods that I never go to. I always try and find the local shop. And the coffee service guy was so nice, and he was so chatty, and it was just awesome. It was because so many people in their jobs these days seem to be fucking half asleep. And I don't think I've met any like real face-to-face cunty people, but of course they're all over the internet. And it's like these are people who I feel bad for because I don't think they can be nice, like, to anyone. I don't think there's anyone for that person with whom they might disagree, or rather there's no one they would agree with. There's people that want to have an argument and nitpick every goddamn thing. And that is pissing me off so bad, because I do think there's a time to nitpick, um, especially right now when it comes to the people making policies and these people that are glorified thought leaders, that are like unelected uh, influencers of our society, and have, um, they have but they're biased, so they're gonna sell it. They're gonna sell it hard. But it's like I don't think there's some people that can be pleased. And I'm sort of fumbling all over my words right now because I am sort of having a new thought bubble. Um, Thanks to Alice showing up. That's really awesome because uh, earlier today I was going to talk about this. Earlier today I had a lady message me in a Discord, and I'm pretty new to Discord. I'm only really on like 4 different ones, and I really don't participate in them much. I'm like a lurker for this one called the Raccoon Bunker. And these people are so diverse and weird, and their sense of humor is sick. But I like it because, like, I think there's a difference between having like a sort of sick and twisted sense of humor and then like personally attacking people, or like just being really rude and disagreeable in person. So I would hope that, like, you can have an outlet where you can talk shit with your friends, but you actually care about each other, versus like just straight hardcore trolling, you know? And someone as outspoken as Sebs is going to get the mad trolls, because most of the people can't even keep up with like a fraction of what she's capable of processing. Like, she has a pretty amazing mind. And so whether you agree with her or not, um, you know, she's a lot more intelligent in many ways than I am because she understands so much about this greater global, politic than your average person living in America, especially her age. So, I'm not even trying to pick a fight with somebody like that. Someone like Seb's. And so, yeah, that just kind of pissed me off. But earlier today, I was in a Discord channel talking about a very similar issue. And this woman sent me a message, and we'd never talked direct before, but we'd seen each other in these posts, and we'd been in a voice chat with some other people before. And she was talking about some of the drama going on in this one Discord. And one guy wanted it to be all science and kick off all the pesky, goofy, irreverent guys posting memes and talking shit, And it was just kind of funny. We were talking about a lot of these doctor wars that are going on with Jonathan Cooey and Dr. Kevin McCairn. And so, yeah, it just seems like there's a lot of these sort of dick measuring contests going on. And I mean, I watch it to some level because it's funny to me, but I really try and not engage with it that much. Um, but I do enjoy it for the laughs. It does entertain me. But yeah, I do actually get pissed off sometimes because, I can understand flying off the handle once in a while, but yeah, some of these folks, like, I don't know, they don't have a healthy outlet. They don't have a healthy outlet, and they feel the need to fly off the handle constantly. And I think that's really sad because I think there's a lot of necessary conversations um that need to happen, and like that dialogue just dies in that kind of environment. And so I've been really fortunate that I have been able to use the internet to find, like, I think some, real connections, some authentic connections. They may be limited, but I've been able to have a couple talks with CJ, and like that's really cool. That has been the one thing that's given me hope, because although I hope for the best and I pray, I pray for the best, but like I'm probably, very well prepared for the worst, because you know, I see how messed up people are. And the more I study history, it doesn't get any better. Like you realize how horrible people actually have been, and to the degree um that, like, I think some of these folks are flying off the handle because I think they get stuck in their paradigm, and they don't realize how emotionally uh tied they are to that. And so it's kind of like you have to become the lone wolf in a sense. You have to leave that pack behind, e- e- to really understand, like, oh, well, okay, it's all right for me to accept a new reality. But I think that's really emotionally jarring for people. And I'll admit, for myself as well. So even the cynics, I think they may get stuck in that one place. And to me, that's like one of the big dangers, um, that can, like, destroy our capacity for critical thinking. Um, it's weird. My kids have had some little, like, bumps and um, falls and stuff lately, and the worst thing is when you're within earshot and, you hear that initial scream and you're trying to figure out, "Okay, what's the level of injury here based on what I hear?" And then, run to the child, and it was so sad because my kid was, like, face down, and that's when you fear the worst because you just don't wanna see, like, blood. And luckily she was okay, and she sprained her arm, and I was talking to her, and I was checking her out, and I was giving her my kind of conditions for what we should look for if she needs to go to the doctor right away, or and I was explaining her triage concept of understanding, okay, what is the most immediate thing to address? Um, and it's lucky when only one kid at a time gets hurt. Um, so my son fell at the same time, checked him out real quick. He's okay. Tend to the bigger one that's crying, you know. But it's a real lesson in going back to that brain where you shut off your emotions. You're not going to sit and cry with the kid. You're going to do what you got to do to take care of him. When my son was bitten by a dog, uh, I found the strength to pick him up and run home. So I just find it quite amazing as a parent, especially all the lessons I've been able to learn from you rise to the level of the occasion. And so that's what I hope for with the mental preparedness of all these people that seem to be kind of losing their minds. I just hope that what I can do myself is try and keep more calm and cool, um, and thoughtful, and I want to defend the folks that are getting attacked. Um, but yeah, I feel like it's really important to just stay measured and, not just jump to all the conclusions. And, like that fear stuff, maybe that's part of my issue. Maybe I can't handle it myself. Maybe I do want to be too optimistic or whatever, but yeah, I just think there's a lot of conjecture. And so that's another thing that helps me feel a lot better is that these folks, a lot of stuff that they're saying is based off of just pure conjecture in itself. And so there's layers and layers of that. So I don't want to get caught up into that. But I do like talking about the different ideas. And I have been fascinated by a lot of the talks about uh, history that I've been into lately. And although I may be a little bit behind and I don't quite get the full picture of everything yet, that's okay. Like I'm pretty satisfied with the slow and steady progress. Um, and yeah, I just feel so lucky that I've made these these new little connections just online. I think YouTube is pretty messed up. I think that I'm gonna just start maybe doing a channel on Rumble, um, and just get off of YouTube. I think that's one of the things that they're trying to do is herd us into different corners of the internet. Um, and I want to talk about some real important things. And it's obvious that that the way YouTube is run, um, they will go back into your old videos. They will delete uh, your account or take away access to your account and not have to tell you a reason. They can update their terms of use all day long, and everybody's doing this, Discord's doing this. Um, there's another alt platform called We Talk You Listen. Um, so that's really small, private thing. So um I'm gonna start posting onto there and maybe still do these little check-ins here on YouTube once in a while. But I think that in order to have real conversations, authentic ones, I don't want to have to be self-censoring or using code word. Although that is good practice for being out in public if you don't want to just suddenly piss somebody off. So, anyway, I appreciate you checking this out. I really do. That's awesome. Yeah, I maybe I'll go through my notebook because I really did have a lot of thoughts. Um, Dr. McCarran introduced me to a guy who calls himself Spartacus, and he has a Substack. Um, he has a uh, great way of speaking, I think, to some of the bigger picture. I don't think he's quite on the level of Allison McDowell. They have sort of a different skew. But he does talk about um the culture war is a mask for the class war. And I think that's really poignant. Um so the warehousing of humanity, the 15-minute cities. They're as Allison McDowell's pointed out, they're building one of the first smart cities, 15-minute cities in Draper, Utah. And it's on top of the site of the former Utah State Prison. So kind of symbolic in a way, I think. And I was thinking about that while listening to the Spartacus talk with Dr. McCarran tonight. So yeah, he's just talking about they they want to have the young workers, but not have as many old, happy, comfortable uh, people. And so, yeah, I've been thinking a lot about that. Whether you're on this broad spectrum of points of view. Um, there's the folks waiting uh, for the end of the world, and there's a bunch of different versions of that. Um, there's the catastrophists, and there's that guy Archaics, Jason Brashears, who says it's all a simulacrum. I mean, I don't know. Again, I think it's a bunch of conjecture, and I think that they make bank off of us in so many ways by just creating these markets, whether it's, forever being medicalized, um, yada, yada, yada. They want everybody to rent. Um, they want us all in this gig economy where we're just begging for tips and, you know, praying for 5-star ratings. Um, so anyway, um, I think I'll probably sign off, but yeah, I, d- I do want to hang on to my optimism, although if you are looking at everything, it looks super shitty. But that's one thing I appreciate about Sebs is she's like, it's nothing new, you know. Um, a lot of these things have been happening for decades, centuries. I agree. You know, I wasn't a refugee, but my grandparents were, and my great grandparents were Armenian refugees. And so, um, I think those traumas do pass down generationally. Um, And I think the trouble with the disconnected generations, when they've lost the culture, when they forget, um, it happens so fast. It happens in just a few generations, right? So I think, yeah, that's part of what I've been kind of mentally stewing on is, yeah, how to have an understanding of things that I may not have gone through, um, but to not pretend like I can even imagine it. Just listen, just listen to somebody else. So yeah, CJ, I agree. Like I'm not trying to follow produced content anymore. I'm really looking for folks that are having some some authentic uh some authentic exchanges, you know. And that I have been finding. And I do like to listen to stuff while I work. Um but yeah, I think it can just become too much, and I've found myself to be way too involved in drama emotionally. That had really nothing to do with me, but I found myself just I had to recognize, "Oh my gosh, I'm getting all worked up over this stuff. Why?" I have a family that's kind of dramatic enough, right? So, anyway, but I feel so super lucky more than ever because yeah, I got a warm home, hot water, and I know how to do hard work, and I'm willing to do it. So, yeah, I'm super thankful for that. And I might say dumb shit. Like I'm always going to say something that is going to confuse somebody, make them feel weird, whatever, but it's like I'd rather try and be authentic than say nothing. And I think it's becoming ever more dangerous to be authentic and honest because there's some bad actors out there. But it's also why it's important. Um, so I want to just keep training myself to be more thoughtful and considerate of my words, my actions, and to learn just how to continue to like readdress something if it didn't go well, if I said something I didn't mean, or if someone takes something out of context, rather than blame them for misunderstanding me, maybe present it in a new way, and that is the key to being a good teacher, I think, is recognizing the steps that the student got wrong and just going back and not belittling somebody for not understanding. But, that kind of polite exchange is totally lost when, people just like overreact. So, yeah, I'm trying not to be overreactive, especially as a mom. When I get annoyed with the kids, it's like I try and come back to them when they've settled and have the real conversation, you know? Um, but they're great kids, and I'm so freaking lucky. Um, we didn't break an arm this week, although Clem sprained her arm pretty bad, and I'm just still glad my babies need me. I'm glad I'm getting some small time first aid and medic training with the family. Um, because that's the worst thing you can do in an emergency, right? Is panic. So I'm definitely honing my skills at being able to focus during the emergency and just take care of the task at hand. Um, so yeah, one of the things I'm praying for is that we don't get bad flooding during our spring snow melt. I know there's a lot of extreme weather going on everywhere, but that's what's happening here. We had double our average snowpack so far this year. Um, and the last time it was near this big was in 1983, and the snow melted and flooded Salt Lake. There's some crazy photos of that. Um, but everybody got sandbags out and helped each other out, and so corny old Kate would just hope that, yeah, if in crisis, folks can rally together. And yeah, so I'm keeping my mind on that idea. And Alice, thanks again for stopping by. That's really freaking awesome. CJ, I'm going to reach out to you because I want to have another chat. And I'm trying to get my friend Thomas to have a chat with me. So those I may practice doing on Rumble. So we can be, uh, yeah, be talking about whatever we want and not having to use code words. That's one thing that's messing me up right now because I'm trying not to say the wrong thing. Anyways, I hope y'all have a good night. Thank you again, and let's chat soon. I'll be back on YouTube still, and I'll give you some links if I start some Rumble uh, videos. I'll link them here in the future. Thank you. Have a great night. Thanks, CJ and Alice. Appreciate you.